from San Antonio, Chris Maru, Albert Flores, Dan Cook. Eyewitness News.
Good evening. Did you feel it? That's the big question every...
This is KMOL News 4.
Good evening, I'm Randy Beamer. Deborah has the night off. If you thought you felt the earth move tonight, you did. A rare earthquake hit Texas this evening. It hit at about 7:33 tonight, centered some 20 miles.
A man killed during a friendly fire tragedy over Iraq. The night beat begins right now.
This is the Night Beat on KSAT 12, San Antonio's #1 10 o'clock news.
Good evening, I'm Bob Salter. Karen has the night off. Here's what's happening tonight. Hundreds of San Antonio residents are trembling after coming as close as they may ever get to an earthquake. The earthquake was centered southeast of Alpine in far west Texas, but its effects were felt hundreds of miles away.
Anywhere from like 8 to 10 seconds, and then it was about a minute, and then the second one hit, which wasn't as severe, probably lasted about 5 seconds.
And what kind of calls have you had? What kind of...
That we're shaking up. But as far as we know, we're in pretty good shape.
You knew exactly what it was when it happened?
No doubt about it.
A geologist has told us it was likely the Rio Grande overthrust fault out there. The earthquake also did damage in Pecos and Ozona. There are reports of cracked plaster and broken windows in those cities. The Texas Department of Public Safety says broken gas mains have caused some fires in Brewster County, but no injuries have been reported. Now, here in town, no damage, but classes were let out at San Antonio College. Steve Langford's at the news desk with that part of the story. Steve?
Chris, imagine you're in the middle of a history test and you feel something and everybody decides it is time to go home. Well, that's exactly what happened tonight to Martha Roan and a whole bunch of other people at San Antonio College when authorities came in and said, look, get out of here and go home. Let's take a look.
We were sitting taking a test, and I thought I was just getting dizzy being pregnant, and I was just kind of being woozy, and everybody by the wall said they could feel the walls shaking. And we didn't know what it was. We just thought it was something funny. And then they came through, and everybody else said they felt it too in the other buildings.
I was up in the library building, up on the the 4th or 5th floor, and you just kind of felt like someone was like shaking like that. And you didn't think anything of it, so you keep going, and then you hear.
I find this interesting, Randy. Just watch what happened during one of those interviews.
Hey, quite an exhilarating experience, and if you look over there right now, it's moving again as we speak.
I noticed that one was moving.
Uh-huh.
Right behind it.
And yeah, if you want to get a shot of that. And I promise you, that's not air conditioning, folks. That's the real thing. This one is starting to move a little also.
And I was in the bathroom, and I was reading the paper, and I felt that building shaking just like that. And it just lasted, and I said, is this my imagination or what? So for about 15 seconds, that building was shaking, and I noticed the towel was moving, and when I heard that crack, then I said, man.
Until the disastrous earthquake there in January of '94, they decided to move to Texas to get away from all this. Chris?
I guess they must have a big dog if the room shakes and he asks where the dog is. Anyway, thank you, Steve. We've made a lot of calls tonight to make sure everything's okay in San Antonio. Here's the rundown. The fire department has checked for gas leaks and structural damage in various places around town, but has not found any. The assistant fire chief says he talked with the Hemisphere Tower. They said no one up top felt it, but they did at the bottom. Who knows? No trouble there. As for the I-10 upper level that has cracks, the Texas Department of Transportation says there's been no change there. It still has cracks. If you've never felt the earth move under you, it can be very scary. It was not centered here, of course, and there actually never should be one in San Antonio. This is about the place where you shouldn't, right, Albert?
That's right, Chris. We just really don't sit near any major faults. Here's, of course, where it began up in Alpine, and it radiated out all the way towards San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, back up towards Roswell, New Mexico. The only fault we have, as you well know, is a Balcones fault, and that's a fairly minor one. In studying meteorology, we talked about earthquakes and tectonic plates, and we have no major tectonic plate shift here. Actually, most of it's out in California. But when you're out in West Texas, you have had over the millions of years much more of an uprise in displacement of Earth out there, so I'm not surprised they had a minor one, but chances of getting one even of that magnitude here or slim and none. Back to you.
Okay, Albert. As for more history of earthquakes in Texas, West Texas did have a bigger one back in 1933. That was 62 years ago. A magnitude 6 hit located near the city of Valentine, which is sort of north of Alpine. We're told back then all the buildings in town were damaged except the wood frame buildings. You may remember an earthquake in Texas we reported on a few months ago. That was minor, centered near...
Meaning to egg on your face.
That's right.
Yeah. And only carcasses left of the bread.
It's very good.
Yeah.
I'm going to share mine with
We
you.
should all just drive down to the...
Dates. We'll have much more tomorrow as well at noon, 5 and 6. That does it for the Night Beat. For Steve and Greg and all of us here at KSAT 12, thanks for joining us this evening.